Hey, Dan Meyer here, and I am back once again with 5 more tips for you based on why I left Wells Fargo. What was in my head when I left Wells Fargo about 13 years ago, and what were the things that I did to launch my business, and how I became successful. How did I manage to stay in business now for 13 years? So I'm going to share with you 5 tips based on how to validate a business idea, right? So if you're watching this video series, you're probably somebody who's working for a company and thinking, I need to exit. I need to go my own way. I need to take off and try the entrepreneurial lifestyle. And if that's you, then the first thing you got to do really is validate your business case, right? Whatever kind of business you want to set up. And this is applicable whether you want to do a coaching business, whether you want to go into consulting, whether you want to set up a retail business, whatever it is, you have to follow these 5 tips. These are the 5 things that I did when I left Wells Fargo, before I left actually, and then I had to do them again after I left Wells Fargo and set up my first business. And each business I've launched since then, and right now I think I'm on my 7th business, 7 businesses. Each one of them I had to do a business case validation for. So the first thing you have to do is conduct market research, right? Make sure that there's a market for your idea, your product, your whatever it is you're going to give away or whatever you're going to do. If you want to be a consultant or a business coach, you have to make sure people will pay you for your expertise. If you're going to launch a new product or a new service, you want to make sure there's a market for it. And you do this a couple different ways. Number one, you have to just, go out there and Google it, chat GPT it, whatever you have to do to find out what are some of the things that people think about in this market. How big is it? How deep is it? What's the average price point for items that you want to sell? What's high end? What's low end? Where do you want to be in that? Basically, you want to do this research to figure out what it is you're going to do. So my research when I launched my first business was, I'm an analytics expert. I know all about how to crunch numbers. And I know a lot of companies don't have very strong analytics teams. So my goal is to train people to be better analysts, to train them how to do better data storytelling, to do better predictive analytics, and so forth. So I knew that was what I wanted to do, but I had to figure out the market. And I knew I was going to do it in the Philippines, so I looked at what industry was the biggest employer of analysts in the Philippines when I first moved there back in 2012. And it was the call center industry, the business process outsourcing industry, right? So that's where I focused. I started going to all kinds of events and talking to people, getting feedback. But basically, I researched where I wanted to go for the deepest market, the most opportunity for me to sell. So I conducted a lot of market research through connecting on LinkedIn, through doing Google searches, through signing up for newsletters, for going to events. I conducted a lot of market research. And I was right. I found great opportunities in that industry, in that niche, doing the training for analysts in the call center industry in the Philippines. Number 2, engage your target market, right? So I used LinkedIn as my primary tool before I moved to the Philippines. So when I was in the US for about a year before I moved to the Philippines, I was constantly on LinkedIn. Almost daily I would be on LinkedIn making connections, find out who's who in the industry, who are the senior executives, who are the movers and shakers, who are the ones that are the thought leaders, who are the ones that people are talking to, who people are following, right? Who's got big followings. Find out who they are, right? And then who follows them. The best way to engage with your target audience is on other people's stuff. There's a misconception that if you post something on social media or you build a website, people will find you. And that really doesn't happen very often. What's more likely to happen if you want to be successful is that you go to people's places that are already expertise, that are already experts, that have an expertise. You go to somebody's Facebook page or their Instagram page if they're an expert in your field, and you start commenting and complimenting and talking to people that are following them. Look at their followers. Look who else is liking their stuff and invite them to like your stuff. Really, you got to pirate influencer traffic. And you do that and you find out who the movers and shakers are, right? Who are they following? Who do they think the experts are? And you work your way up till we get to the top of your industry. So you engage with your target audience, both the people that will buy from you and the ones that people are already buying from, right? It's not just who's all about you and who will come to you. It's how you get attraction of people that are already going somewhere else to buy something. Make sense? All right. Number 3, develop a minimum viable product, right? So you don't want to launch everything at once. People get stuck a lot. A lot of business owners I've worked with, they get stuck because they have too many offers. They have too many products, too many services. Do one thing and do it well. My initial business was based on one thing. training people to be business analysts, talk about how to do data storytelling, talk about business dashboarding, talk about predictive model building. Basically things that you have to know how to do if you're a business analyst working in a company that has a lot of data. And I also kind of focused it to be on the call center industry, right? So I looked at average metrics, common, data points that are common to the call center industry. And I had a background working for a call center at one point, so it made sense. So I stayed where I knew. And I kind of branched out onwards. But I developed that minimum product. This is my training, my one-day training. Come to my training. I'll train you how to be a better analyst. I'll train you on these 3 topics that will make you a better business analyst. I had a very minimum viable product. And I was able to get out there and I was able to sell it. And that really leads us to number 4. Run a pilot program or a test case, right? So the first thing I did was do a couple things that were free, right? I did free trainings. People don't do a lot of free webinars, right? Opportunities to give yourself time, maybe an hour of your time, to people to get a taste of what it would be like to buy something from you. So it could be a testimonials. It could be you get product endorsements. You could do things like that as well that will help get people to see what you're doing. But bottom line is you have to get out there talking about your business. And you have to do it in a way that people will engage with you and buy from you. So whether you're trying to do traditional marketing or influencers, whatever you're going to buy, you also have to do things yourself, right? You can't hide from being the front of your business. So run a program like a pilot or a test case for a small group of people that you trust their feedback, and use that to make sure that you're on the right path, right? So you have this product that you've developed, the minimum viable product. Your audience, you figured out where they are, what they do, you run a test case for them. And the last thing you do is you ask for orders. You ask for people to pre-order. You ask people to buy ahead of time to see if you can get an interest. If you got a good offer, people see value in it. People look at you as somebody they want to work with. If you're likable and trustworthy and you're offering something that comes across to your audience as a legitimate value, then they're going to pre-order. And that's a good way to measure how you develop your pricing, how you make sure that you're getting the right market, the right target market for the right value. Make sure you're going to make money with what you offer if it's worth your time to do it. But you want to do some kind of measure interest with pre-orders, right? You want to make sure that you're able to really effectively gauge people's interest in buying before you start really selling. Most people do this wrong, right? Most people don't really understand the product. They just launch something. They launch too many products or services. They don't really engage with the influencers in their place. They don't do a test case. They don't do a good pre-sell. And so they end up overpaying for things and not making any money back. So if you don't want to be that person, then make sure you follow these steps, right? So conduct a market research, engage your target audience, develop the minimum viable product, run a test case, and get interest through pre-orders. Do those 5 things, and I promise you, you're going to have more success than if you just dive in and try to do everything all at once. So that's how you validate a business case. That's how I validated my first business case and everyone since. That's what I tell people that work with me, whether they hire a virtual assistant or I do training for them. I tell them these are the things you need to do to make sure that your business case is viable, that it makes sense. You validated it, right? So that's it. I hope that helps. I'll be back again soon with more videos. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Feel free to drop a comment. That's it. So have a great day.